Yo, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners. And just a few days ago, we put out some pretty early off-season rankings for fantasy football. Now, we like to refer to them as our post-free agency-ish rankings. We're kind of in that dull period right now where a majority of the free agents have signed, all the big names anyway are off the board, and we're still about a month away from the NFL draft. So right now we're talking pro days and things of that nature. However, when we do these really early off-season rankings, we get all sorts of questions about what about this guy or what about that guy? Where would you put this guy if this happened? There's still a lot of things that can happen. We don't have all the information as of yet, so that's why these rankings are so early. But on our tight end rankings video, one name continuously came up time and time again. Yo, Kyle, where would you put Kyle Pitts? Some of you have already ranked this guy as a top 5 tight end for 2021. Could he be? Some of you sure think so. In dynasty leagues, yeah, he's going to be a lot higher. In redraft leagues, though, I think it's worth noting that we might want to pump the brakes a little bit, because we are going to take a quick trip down memory lane in this video to see how other rookie tight ends have performed in the past and whether or not that is going to affect Kyle Pitts. So before we jump into it, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, subscribe and become a part of Headliner Nation today. And at the end of the video, let me know down in the comments below, where do you think Kyle Pitts will end up being? So let's hop into it. Do you know who Kyle Pitts is? If not, let's take a quick look at him. Out of Florida, tight end. He was a junior last season, has put together pretty decent numbers in his college career. But last year was absolutely ridiculous. 8 games, obviously, again, kind of a shortened COVID season. But during those 8 games, 43 receptions, 770 yards, 17.9 yards per reception, and 12 touchdowns. Whew. Ladies and gentlemen, could you imagine if Kyle Pitts got a full season last year, what his numbers would have looked like? Especially if it would have been a full season going up against some weaker non-conference opponents that you see some of these bigger schools do early in the season. If that would have happened, Kyle Pitts very possibly could have been over 1,000 yards very, very easily, and more towards 15 touchdowns. It was a huge, huge year. And don't get me wrong, I like Kyle Pitts a lot. I think he is going to be one of the next good tight ends, one of the next great tight ends even in the NFL. But I think what we tend to do a little too much this time of the year is get super excited about these young guys and what their potential fantasy production could be. And it makes sense, right? We all want that new shiny toy, that new shiny car, that new weapon. A lot of people want to be the first to say something about somebody. You want to be the first person to say, oh, I told you Kyle Pitts was going to be a top 5 tight end. I told you he's going to be I told you. We like that. Okay, that's what this time of the year is about. I didn't include him in our tight end rankings. Why? He doesn't have a team yet. And that is not only going to lead to long-term success, but success that happens right away. So when I do 2021 rankings, Kyle Pitts is nowhere to be found right now, but he will be pretty soon. The question is where is that, and where does he finish the season? We got to take a look back, though, because in the past, a lot of you may already know this, there haven't been too many rookie tight ends that have done very well. There's one name in particular. We'll talk about him in a minute. But take a second right now. Just think of this as double jeopardy. Okay, how much money are you going to risk on this? Write down your answer. Where does a rookie tight end typically finish? You know what? Let's make it even easier. In 2020, who was the top rookie tight end? Who is it? I'm going to be willing to bet that for every 10 of you watching this video, maybe 1 or 2 of you were able to say, I know who the top rookie tight end was last year. And know what's even worse about that? Are the numbers that come with it. So what have top fantasy rookie tight ends done in the past? Well, this past season, it was Harrison Bryant. Finished as the tight end 41 and only had 49.8 fantasy points. What about that 2019 class? If you remember, that 2019 class was loaded with a lot of really good rookie tight ends. Noah Fant ended up leading the way in 2019. He was only the tight end 16. 91 fantasy points. He didn't even get you 100 fantasy points at a position that, well, it's pretty much a wasteland. Well, what about 2018? Well, there's one name that comes up in 2018. You're going to know it right away because he's one of the top producers today, and that's Mark Andrews. But he only finished with 0.7 fewer fantasy points than what Noah Fant did in 2019 and finished as the tight end 17. So again, these names that are going to start popping up, you're going to be like, yeah, those are good guys now. But were they really good in their rookie season? Let's jump back to 2016. Now, we're going to skip 2017 because 2017 is an outlier and would really, really, really mess with some of the information I'm going to show you. So I kept that separate, and we are going to talk about it more in depth in just a second. But let's go back to 2016, another name that just signed a huge deal this offseason. Hunter Henry, he finished as the tight end 16 with 112 fantasy points. And in 2015, a guy that really isn't even worth a lick anymore is Clive Walford, tight end 32, 64.9 fantasy points. Now, I told you 2017 was a little bit of an outlier, and I'm willing to guess that a majority of you can already tell me who it is. Because in 2017, Evan Ingram, a rookie, finishes the tight end 5 with 141.6 fantasy points. Now, what led to that, though, in 2017? Well, it led to a lot of injuries. If you remember back to 2017 with the New York Giants, it seemed like everybody, and when I say everybody, I literally mean everybody, was getting injured that year for the Giants. It wasn't even close to being at full strength and all on the field together at some point during the season. It was an absolute disaster for the Giants. And that really is part of the reason why he ended up finishing so high. I mean, Evan Ingram played in 15 games. He had 115 targets. Sterling Shepard only played in 11 games. He had 84 targets. Roger Lewis. Who in the heck's Roger Lewis? He played in 15 games. He had 72 targets. Shane Vereen. Remember the running back, Shane Vereen? He played in 16 games, 53 targets. Wayne Gallman played in 13 games. He had 48 targets. Odell Beckham Jr. only played in 4 games. Brandon Marshall, who they brought in over the offseason, he only played in 5 games. Okay? These guys were having a lot of issues staying healthy during that year. And it led to Evan Ingram being the guy the majority of the season. 115 targets, 64 receptions, 722 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now, those numbers might not seem like a whole lot, right? Like some of you are probably thinking, hey, listen, if Kyle Pitts finishes or falls into the right position, is drafted to the right team, 100%, he can do this. He can make those numbers. Possibly, but he's got to fall into the right position, right? He's not just going to be able to go to any team and put that together. He's going to have to go somewhere that will be able to give him as much volume as that Evan Ingram got in the year in which everybody was hurt. So, who was the next closest that season? That's where I kind of take a step back and I look, okay, Evan Ingram, kind of an outlier. What about the next closest rookie tight end? Who was that? There's a guy by the name of O.J. Howard for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tight end 18, finished with 88.2 fantasy points. So, what is the average production of a rookie tight end? Well, the average performance for a rookie tight end in terms of fantasy points, if you remove Evan Ingram. Or no, excuse me, this actually includes Evan Ingram. Excuse me, misspoke there. The average performance, if you include Evan Ingram, so it's going to make these numbers look even better. It's 91 half PPR fantasy points with an average finish of tight end 21 and half PPR leagues. So let's go back to Kyle Pitts here real quick and talk about what do we see as a possibility for him? Well, we know Jacksonville is taking a quarterback. The New York Jets are probably taking a quarterback. The San Francisco 49ers, who just traded up, if they don't take a quarterback, they're kind of crazy. So the first team that comes up is the Atlanta Falcons, right? They're the first team that's really got that's the legitimate landing spot for Kyle Pitts if no one else trades up. But they have Julio Jones, they have Calvin Ridley, and they already have Hayden Hurst on the team. So if Kyle Pitts goes to Atlanta, is he really a top 5 tight end? Probably not. Is he top 10? Potentially. But you got to expect that some days are going to be worse than others. Yeah, he might have a big game every now and then, but you're not going to get a consistent performance out of him, right? Not with Ridley there, not with Hayden Hurst, probably running a lot of 2 tight end sets, things of that nature. So Atlanta for a 2021 really breakout for Kyle Pitts probably isn't the best. Cincinnati at 5. What if he goes to Cincinnati? Cincinnati desperately needs a tight end. And they've been talking about, adding some more playmakers. Kyle Pitts going to Cincinnati, probably a little bit better, but you still got Tyler Boyd, you still got T. Higgins. They're talking about trading Gio Bernard, but if they don't trade Gio Bernard, you still got him that some targets can filter to. And you still got Joe Mixon, who you're going to run the ball with quite a bit. No matter how you feel about Joe Mixon, the one thing we know about him, he gets lots of volume. They like to run the ball with Joe Mixon. So if he goes there, is he a top 5 tight end? Possibly. But when Joe Burrow was healthy last year, he kind of used his tight end to begin the season, but then not really after that. He didn't really go towards his tight end anymore after Drew Sample stepped in. CJ, who's your mama, goes down with an injury. Drew Sample steps in. Didn't really utilize Drew Sample. So will they utilize Kyle Pitts? Probably. Are they going to get him the ball enough to be a top 5 option? Probably not, because he's got 2 other guys there that, if healthy, are going to take a lot, and you got to expect they're going to want to run the ball too. I don't think they're going to want Joe Burrow throwing 600 times a year every year. Okay, that's what he was on pace for last year. So Cincinnati, a good landing spot, but probably not 2021 huge number upside. Miami's at number 6 right now. They've got Mike Gesicki, probably not taking Kyle Pitts. The Detroit Lions at number 7. They have got TJ Hawkinson. Would highly doubt that they spent a pick on Kyle Pitts. If they do, when you're watching the live stream, first night of the draft here on the Fantasy Headliners, you're going to see me flip a table. Number 8, you've got the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Carolina Panthers could spend a pick on him, but is Teddy Bridgewater the guy to get it done? You did lose Curtis Samuel. So Carolina is kind of the first place where you say, yeah, that upside is there. You don't have Curtis Samuel anymore, but you do have DJ Moore, and of course you have Christian McCaffrey, and both of those guys are going to get a lot of targets. So we have yet to put Kyle Pitts on a team where he is the number 1, maybe arguing a little bit number 2-ish, right? So not number 1 anywhere like Evan Ingram was. Number 2, maybe if you want to try and argue it, but probably at best the number 3 option. You've got Denver that's got Noah Fant. He could go to Dallas at number 10, but Dallas, they've got CeeDee Lamb, they got Michael Gallup, they've got Amari Cooper. The New York Giants, does he go there? Possibly, but they already have Evan Ingram. He's not going to last this far down. They have Ingram, they have Kenny Golladay, they have Saquon Barkley, they have Sterling Shepard, they have Darius Slayton. The Philadelphia Eagles at 12 still have Dallas Goedert. The Los Angeles Chargers, they signed Jared Cook, but obviously this would be a good place to go. And honestly, with the Chargers, if they hadn't signed Jared Cook and they had found a way to get up higher and draft Kyle Pitts with Justin Herbert, to me, he becomes the number 2 target behind Keenan Allen. And at that point, I'm liking him a little bit more. But then you still got Austin Eckler there too. So there's a lot, if you look at those top teams that are going to take him, there's not really one that sticks out or jumps off the page where you're like, yeah, this is where he's going to go, and this is where he's going to be top 5 automatically. All right? So just to let you all know right now, Kyle Pitts in 2021, highly unlikely that he's a top 5 tight end. To me, at best, he's probably looking at the back half of tight end 1 status. Me personally, I've got him in that probably 10 to 12 mark, depending on where he lands. And I said that there's some better position, and there's some better positions than others. There's some ones that he could do really well in. There's others where he's probably not going to get looked at right away. But whatever it may be, history tells us that tight ends coming into the league are not that great right away. Not only that, but all this talk that you hear about Kyle Pitts moving to wide receiver, who was the last tight end that you saw move to wide receiver and be successful right away? I mean, you could point to Devin Funchess. I mean, he had one successful season in Carolina, but Devin Funchess made his transition out to wide receiver his last year in college. He didn't do it in the NFL. And depending on where he would go, if he's making a transition to wide receiver and he's going to become like a wide receiver 1 right away, is he going to be, what type of cornerbacks is he going to be facing? It's a little bit of a different beast out there. So let's just keep it a little bit cool on Kyle Pitts. I get the excitement, and he's going to be good for years to come, and we're going to get lots of really, really good fantasy performances out of him. But more than likely, 2021 will not be that year. So ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That was my breakdown on Kyle Pitts and what you could potentially expect from him in 2021, depending on his landing spot. And as I said earlier in the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And in the comments below, let me know where you think Kyle Pitts is going to end up going. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you all tuning into this video. Make sure that you stay safe and stay healthy. Headliner Nation, peace out, and I'll catch you on the next video.